Hi there. I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist. Born male, became female. I always make that clear because my haircut does leave some room for doubt, doesn't it? But anyway, my guest is a wonderful friend of ours whom you've known forever, and so have I. The lady who got me into politics, and I didn't slap her, so there you go. She is the transgender activist and New York Democratic politician, Ms. Melissa Sklarz. And she is running for New York State Assembly, from Queens, which is a borough here in New York. And we are confident that she will win. She is transgender. This is amazing. It's very important that transgender folk run for office. It's even more important that they win, but just running is important. And we're going to talk to Melissa about her many positions on many subjects and why she would be the best person for the job. Hello, Melissa.
Hi, Diana. Thank you for having me on the show today.
My pleasure. And this, of course, is her campaign brochure.
Yes.
So now, tell me about the 30th Assembly District, which is where you're running.
So you can figure it is in Sunnyside, Woodside, Maspeth, and Middle Village. For your viewers that know Queens, you can figure from Grand Central, it goes down to the Jackie Robinson Highway along the BQE. It's very diverse. Every district, assembly district in New York has 125,000 people. Uh-huh. And and I'm getting to know as many people as possible. I'm raising money. We're creating positions. There's an incumbent who is a freshman lawmaker. He was elected in 2016, and I'm running against him, representing the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party.
Is he a more right-wing Democrat than you are?
I consider him more conservative. He's new.
What's his name? Well, never mind. We don't mention names. But anyway, so...
His name is Brian.
Brian.
Yes. And...
as in the life of...
Yeah,
yes.
And he ran against Marge Markey in 2016, and he won. So there are a variety of issues. But now that he's an elected official, he has a public record. And
Does he have a police record?
My concern, not that I know, my concern is that he voted against women's reproductive health.
Ooh.
And he voted against New York as a sanctuary city.
Oh, he's a Democrat? He sounds like a fascist.
Yes, he's a Democrat. The Democratic, the Assembly in New York State is 75% Democratic. And to have these types of votes make no real sense. I just think I could be a better Democratic representative for the neighborhood than Brian.
I agree. And you've been trans for many years now. And you are quite an accomplished person. You worked for Actors Equity for many years in the finance department, I believe.
I was the director of collections. No, it wasn't my dream to take money from poor people. I helped actors with their finances, and I did it for a very long time. Was
and
very
I know
successful.
You used to work out payment plans for them and all sorts of wonderful stuff.
And all sorts of wonderful stuff. And I left there about 2 years ago, and I've been involved in the Democratic Party now for over 20 years. You know, I've started really in the mid-'90s doing public service, and I got involved. Really, I can remember a time in Greenwich Village when they were complaining about transgender prostitutes.
Yes.
And I was a peer counselor at the center.
I remember.
And I went there. I was suggested I go and represent the point of view of the community. And I spoke out in front of 200 angry residents. And they got even with me. They put me on the community board.
So there.
And so ever since, I've been involved really in public policy. I've worked with 3 mayors. I've worked with the last 3 governors. I've worked with the police force. I've been part of the New York State delegation at the last 4 Democratic conventions. I was a surrogate for Hillary Clinton. And last 2 years ago, I was a Hillary surrogate. and I ended up a delegate and was a member of the Electoral College.
Now, your position on, let's tick them off, your position on LGBTQ rights. What is that?
We've had great leadership in New York State with Governor Andrew Cuomo, and certainly the Democrats in the Assembly. You know, the transgender civil. We have marriage equality in New York long before it became the policy of the United States. We've had gay and lesbian civil rights in New York City since 1986, and in New York State since 2001.
And both backed by the great Dick Gottfried,
Yes.
a fellow Assembly member of yours.
And Danny O'Donnell carried the marriage
He's
bill.
fabulous,
Yes.
yeah.
And they made an arrangement with Governor Pataki in 2001, and it became the law of New York State before it became the law of America.
And doing that with Governor Pataki, who was a Republican, was not easy because he did not like trans folk. And that was difficult.
It was very hard for add transgender protections to the gay civil rights bill. They felt that, to use the vernacular, the train had left the station and we came too late to change the bill, that all their lobbying had been for gay and lesbian, and it was too late. Nevertheless, the Democrats in the state Senate made an effort to change the language, led by Senator Tom Dwayne and David Patterson and Eric Schneiderman. And the leader in those days was Marty Connor, and they tried to amend the language, and they failed. And
I remember.
it was very sad, and that's when the Transgender Civil Rights Bill, Gender, was born.
Which has yet to pass.
It's very difficult to get through the New York State Senate. The Senate is controlled by the Republicans, and transgender civil rights does not help the Republican majority. So as a result, it never really comes to the floor. It was debated once in 2010 when the Democrats had control of the Senate for about 15 minutes.
But it somehow did not pass.
No, and it's been held up in committee ever since. I and many other people, including you, we used to go to Albany. However, Governor Cuomo in 2015 took an executive action. He went to court to say that sex in the civil rights law covers not only sexual orientation.
I always said that.
And it covers gender identity.
I always said that. I always
You
thought
are
that.
correct.
Yes, and I always thought that, and I'm very much surprised that people didn't see it that way. But still, that did not afford us protections, did it?
No, it does afford us protections, not with hate crimes, which we
No, but those we can argue that we are protected as human beings against hate crimes.
I guess. The more important thing is the full array of civil rights, especially now with Donald Trump in Washington. Donald Trump seems to
have it in for trans folk, I've noticed.
Well, and trans folk and gay folk and brown folk and black folk and women
female folk, yeah, and
non-corporate folk. He's not a big fan of humans.
No, and even his own staff.
People.
Yes, he just
and his own staff.
I mean, you look at him the wrong way, you're fired.
He's a chaos agent. He seems to enjoy it. I don't really understand it. We've never had a political leader quite like this guy. But transgender people have protection in New York State. When we have protection in housing, we have protection in public accommodations, we have protection in the workplace, and we have protection in the schoolroom. And if anyone in New York wants to go to court, they can use the civil rights law to protect themselves. The protections are in place.
Now, I know that you're running in New York State, but as you know, we're seen all over the place. We live stream. It's very difficult for people in other areas of the country, never mind other areas of the world, to be trans, as you know. Do you see that changing anytime soon?
Right now, we're going to be having a new election.
Here's my point. Trump has made us the whipping boys and girls for many things. He despises us. That can work against Trump's agenda because his dislike of trans folk is so unreasonable and so unfounded. both socially and medically unfounded, that people might say, well, we have to help these people because Trump is so crazy to hate them so much. His dislike of us could work in our favor, don't you think?
I don't know. There are so many different minorities that are under siege right now. You know, when you take a look at the Dreamers, you have all those young kids who were brought to America illegally, and there are millions of them. And you know, right now they're all facing
I think
deportation.
there are 800,000 actually.
They are all facing deportation, and they are all facing deportation next month.
When we show this, it will have, you know.
Right. In May of 2018, they're facing deportation.
We are filming this on April 6th of 2018.
And so there are lots of minorities that are at risk. Right now, the states are starting to work very hard to ban abortion. And now they're going to defund Planned Parenthood. And for a lot of women, Planned Parenthood is the number one resource for women's health.
Any kind of health. If they have a cold, if they have pneumonia, it's the only resource in many places.
As the Trump administration works to defund Obamacare, once again, health care becomes a right and that you have to earn, and a privilege that you have to earn.
Which is contrary to every industrialized nation on earth.
Only in America do you have a choice to feed your family or get health care, because if you're not careful, you'll have to declare bankruptcy.
And they said that this was once the greatest country on earth, and now we are lagging behind every single civilized nation on earth when we do not have health care, which is a right. What we should do is break Trump's arms and legs, and when he's begging for help, we'll say, it's a right, it's a privilege, not a right. Sorry.
So the issues that are
I'm kidding. I don't want to break anyone's arms. But
so
yes.
The issues that are involved in Albany as a lawmaker, we just passed a budget. As you said, we're in April. It's a $168 billion budget for New York State. Now, what is $168 billion? That would be, counting to a million, 168,000 times. That is a very, very large number. And what I want to do as an assembly person is make sure that the 30th Assembly District gets their fair share. I want to make sure that our transportation is up to snuff. We've been having a terrible time with the subways in New York.
You're the number 7, aren't you?
No, I'm number R and the M. I live north of the 7 train.
Okay.
The 7 train does go through the district. And Maspeth and Middle Village are outside the subway system altogether.
How close are you to Forest Hills?
Oh, I don't know, 8 miles maybe.
Oh, that is far.
It's a long walk.
I used to live in Forest Hills, that's what I mean.
It's a long walk. So I'm near the BQE, but you're probably not a car person.
No.
So BQE is a road that goes north-south. And I'm concerned about education. I'm concerned about women's reproductive health. I'm concerned about transportation. I'm concerned about property taxes being fair. Also, because I've been involved in the political system for 20 years, I have a lot of relationships in Albany. I'll be able to hit the ground running.
Yes.
I won't have to spend the time and learn what it's like to who's in charge of Albany, who are the players, who to speak to in the governor's office and the assembly speaker, because I know all these people already.
And speaking of property taxes, you're a homeowner.
Yes.
So speaking of education, your father was a school teacher, I believe.
Yes, and I went to school also. The idea of getting the funding needed for public schools in New York City, again, as we know, Trump and his people do not believe in public education. They consider it a waste of money. So they're trying to redirect all the money from public education into charter schools. Charter schools are great, but it's still taking public money to pay for private education.
And it's guaranteed that we, the citizenry of the U.S., get free education, isn't it?
Yes, and but Trump and his people don't believe in that. It is basic and essential that we make sure that all the money that the 30th Assembly District sends to Albany gets returned, so that our children have quality education.
Would you call your district an upper middle class district?
You know, when you take a look at the the beginning of the end for the middle class was really the destruction of unions. And once you start destroying unions, we're now seeing what is a hollowing out of the middle class. We're now seeing that people no longer make a living wage to work. When I was new to New York City and I shared an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment with a friend from high school, and we paid 20% of our salary or 15% of our salary
Sure.
each together to get a 2-bedroom apartment. That's impossible today. Housing is disappearing. The value of these houses goes way up. The prices of food goes up. And what doesn't go up are salaries. And salaries, so corporate profits are going up and CEO salaries are going up, and yet wages stay the same.
Well, there's more income disparity now than during the Gilded Age. Literally more now. They used to say it's like the No, we have surpassed the Gilded Age when it comes to income disparity.
I think people are so outraged and frightened and angry over income inequality that they were so desperate that they elected Donald Trump as president because he said he would change things.
Well, he pandered to their fears. Hitler did the same thing.
And so what we're seeing, though, is rather than support working people, he's doing the exact opposite. His coalition doesn't really care about working people. His coalition thinks working people are lazy. And if what happens is we have what used to be middle class is now struggling. We don't have working class anymore. They're just working poor because salaries are not enough. We have jobs that used to be for kids that we're having struggling families are trying to survive on it. And it just gets worse every day. The 30th Assembly District in the southern end in Middle Village in Maspeth are probably a lot of homeowners, probably a lot of renters in Woodside. You know, these are neighborhoods in transition.
What are they transitioning to?
Well,
and what are they transitioning from?
Queens is a very, very diverse county. It's the most diverse county in the United States. And I think that Middle Village is concerned that they're not going to be safe. They want to make sure that their homes are safe, that their schools are safe. So public safety is very, very important there. I think you're going to find where I live in North Woodside and in Woodside, people come and go a lot more frequently. Down in Middle Village, you have generations that have been in the same homes for a long time. And so those values are important. If one is to be an elected official, it's important to take community values seriously. It's not always going to be what I think is best for them. In some of these cases, the people are going to teach me what they consider to be best.
Good answer. And that's wonderful that you're flexible and willing to learn.
Yeah, it's the whole point of it. You know, I mean, the only elected official you take a look at a guy like Donald Trump who wants to change the electorate to bend towards his will. He is a most frightening leader. You know, I thought he was entertaining on television. I'm not so entertained now that he's in Washington, D.C.
I agree. You need money, don't you?
So the beginning part of any campaign would be to raise money. And what we've done, my paid political operatives that I have, they think they're very, very complicated. Me, I like things simple. So the website would be melissa2018.com. You cannot get simpler than that. melissa2018.com. So what I've got to do is show the political system that I'm not just a trans girl with a dream. You know, what I want to be able to do is put my 20 years political experience to work. I don't think my trans background is all that important. Certainly when people are worried about healthcare, education, and values of their homes, my medical and gender identity issues should not be in the forefront. We've done informal research, and I think the research shows that 99.2% people in the 30th Assembly District are in fact single gender. But if you want to help the campaign, help make history, help show New York that transgender people deserve to be in the room where it happens, your viewers can go to melissa2018.com.
That's MELISSA.
2018.com.
Yes, and even if you don't live in New York, let's say you live in other parts of the U.S. and you have some money and you care about trans causes, it wouldn't hurt you to send it to Melissa, because if she wins, as New York goes, so goes the world, they say. It would certainly be a very positive thing for all LGBTQ communities and for people interested in social justice. Speaking of social justice, now, on the back of your brochure, I believe there's a Muslim woman.
Why, there is, Diana, that's correct. So
Yes, now, excuse me, you are Jewish. That you are so open to diversity is fantastic. And don't you have a political science degree?
Yes, I do, but as you know, that was a very long time ago. I
thought Lincoln was very nice. He was nice to us. Come on,
So what you have in North Woodside and Woodside, you have people from Indonesia. There are people from Tibet. There are the old school Italians and Irish that are still there. It is an amazing, diverse group of people. And I'm getting to know as many of them as I can. There are the best Thai restaurant in New York City is in Woodside.
You just alienated everyone who has a Thai restaurant that isn't that restaurant, but never mind.
I've been there once. It's amazing. I'm more of a diner kind of a gal. And where you go farther south, Maspeth and Middle Village, even Maspeth is seeing an influx of immigration. These are where people are coming to live the American dream. There are still options and opportunities in Queens, and
hopefully affordable housing to a degree.
Well, I mean, that's going to be one of the battles. The mayor is working very, very hard to create affordable housing.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio.
He doesn't have a lot of support. He has limited resources. I think he's doing a great job. It's taken a long time to build the housing. Again, the value of housing is becoming prohibitive, and
people do object, though, to having homeless shelters in their area, and that does have to be addressed,
I think right now they're putting a homeless shelter on Park Avenue near the Armory, and
they're also doing it on East 58th Street, West 58th Street, next to the most expensive building on earth, the 57.
The law of New York State is everyone is entitled to shelter. It's the law of New York State. Now that law has been decided, now the question becomes, where are people going to live? Where are poor people going to be allowed to live? Right now, we see a wave of gentrification in neighborhoods that used to be deemed too dangerous and violent, and now they're being gentrified, and old families are being pushed out, and poor people still need a place to live in New York City. This is a battle worth fighting for.
Yes. You yourself lived in a Mitchell-Lama apartment for a while, didn't you?
And before that, I was homeless. And before that, I couch surfed. And, I was lucky being college educated, being white. It's a lot easier to lift one up by one's bootstraps. I mean, being trans in the 90s was very difficult. It's a lot simpler now because of people like you and the work that you've done.
And you?
And the TV show that you have to educate people, and so I've had options and opportunities. I've had privilege, and I've been able to make myself to go from homeless to a homeowner.
Yes, and what's wonderful about you is that you take that privilege, you use it to get rights for all of us of all races, all ages, all persuasions. I think that's great. That you have an in and you help the rest of the trans community. And a lot of people, and I won't mention any names, a lot of people pretend to be, great leaders and are actually great swindlers, but no names mentioned. Anyway, so you're hoping I'm not mentioning any names. But anyway, no, you're great. And A vote for you is fabulous. And vote for Melissa, really, and send her money, please.
And so as we go through the campaign, it'll start to transition from raising money to putting volunteers to work. We'll need people to canvass. We'll need people to petition. And this, in Manhattan, people stand outside supermarkets, but in Queens, we go door to door. We know where all the registered Democrats live. I've got a real team, great team working with me. We have researchers. I will know where the Melissa voters are, and they will help bring the campaign into the Democratic primary in September.
Sure, and wherever you live, if you want to have a fun afternoon, hang out with your own kind of people, and canvass for Melissa Sklarz, call 917-745-3681. That is 917-745-3681, or go to melissa2018.com, and you can find out how you can contribute to her campaign with money, with sweat equity, as they call it, with anything you can contribute, wherever you live. If you're watching this in Ohio or Baltimore or Muskogee, send her some money if you can.
Because, Diana, as your viewers know, there's more to politics than pressing like on Facebook.
God knows, yes. Anyway, and I strongly urge registered Democrats out there to vote. Vote for Melissa, please. When is primary day?
Primary day is September 13th. It's a Thursday this year. The normal date would have been September 11th, which in New York is a very sad day. It's also the first night of Rosh Hashanah. So they voted to move the Democratic primary to September 13th.
Sounds wonderful. Anyway, my guest has been transgender activist and Democratic politician Ms. Melissa Sklarz, who is running for New York State Assembly in this year of our Lord 2018. She is a Democrat, as I've said, and I sincerely hope you vote for her. And if you possibly can, wherever you live, contribute to her campaign, because money is the lifeblood of any campaign. And being trans, many of her constituents sadly don't have any money, because trans people often don't. But you're a universal candidate. It's not just, you appeal to a lot of people, trans and non-trans.
Well, when I was the board co-chair...
We only have like 5 seconds.
I appreciate everything you've said. I appreciate the opportunity to come on your show today and spend time with you. Thank you, Diana.
My pleasure. And if I could vote in Queens, I would. I live in Manhattan. Love you.